Hey Redditors, what is something unrealistic that you often see in movies that annoys you? Firing a weapon and continuing with your conversation. I love Archer for the continual tinnitus jokes throughout the series. Don't forget the concussion jokes, because those are like super bad for you. Movies don't understand how squishy our brains are and how easily we get concussions. Like most action movies, when the hero survives a fall, or Iron Man landing really hard, a lot of car wrecks and so on, in reality should have probably ended up in the protagonist being dizzy and throwing up. There is one Mission Impossible where Tom Cruise drowned, and when he got resuscitated, he was dizzy and barely orientated himself. It lasted a good while, despite being able to, quite badly, drive. And then in the same movie, he fell off a bike at very high speed, got dragged on the ground, and afterwards goes to meet his friends with no scratches or wounds or tears in his clothes. Car wrecks generally do not explode. They only explode for the faceless goons though. If the protagonist is in a serious car crash, they'll walk it off like it was nothing. This is why they explode. It's used as a way of showing the crash was lethal. A realistic crash leaves people wondering whether the person survived. Everyone in San Francisco lives in a giant Victorian house. I'm a print journalist and my husband is a sculptor. That's how you know we are interesting. Also, we live in this house and that's totally realistic. Also, it has a yard and they find parking right in front of whenever they go. Have you tried to park in that city? Craig and Stacia are looking for a 2-story A-frame that's near Craig's job in the downtown, but also satisfies Stacia's need to be near the beach, which is nowhere near Craig's job. With 3 children and 9 on the way, and a maximum budget of $7. Let's see what Laurie Jo can do on this episode of You Don't Deserve a Beach House. The coffee cup is always empty. You can tell by how flimsy it is in the hand. I've never understood why props doesn't just put water in the cups so the actors hold them correctly. You can hear the cups are empty when they set them on a surface. This never fails to annoy me. Every time a group of people is looking at a map / diagram / graph, the leader / scientist / genius says, here, here, and here. 3 times. Always. Who does that? Good morning, class. Let's open our books to page 101. Something Hollywood poignant for 90 seconds. Bell rings in college. Homework for next week is chapter 7. The bell ringing during obvious college classes is probably my number one thing. What colleges are these people going to? Greendale Community College. When 2 people walk 5 feet away from the group and have a conversation at full volume, yet somehow no one in the group can seem to hear anymore. Can I just talk to you over here for a secretary? I think your girlfriend is ducking chat. How male scientists look like mad scientists and female scientists are all supermodels. Or the male scientists would be lanky nerdy guys with oversized glasses, or tottering old guys who tremble while speaking. How the ugly unpopular girl is always stupid hot, but she's got glasses, a ponytail and paint on her overalls. Not another teen movie is both everything great and everything stupid as fuck for the American Pie teen genre. Hilarious satire. Pills that work the second they hit the mouth. Alcohol kicks in the second they swallow. I've noticed in a lot of movies they will let someone into their house, but don't shut the front door. Lol. Hey asshole, I'm paying for that act. And turn a light off when you're not in that room. My Marine friend once said I don't like war movies because they are either so inaccurate I get angry, or so accurate I get angry. But Tropic Thunder always gets a pass. Massive breakfast made, and family or family member rushes out with a piece of toast, or when they are at a bar or restaurant and leave without drinking anything from their full glass. That shit is expensive. I've worked in bars. You would be surprised how many basically full drinks get left behind. People being alcoholics and yet having a perfect body. True, except Thor. He at least got fat, and that was such a relief to see. I recently saw Peaky Blinders, and throughout the show I have been wondering how the fuck these guys have such chiseled body when all they drink is just whiskey. Potatoes in medieval movies. They aren't native to Europe. They're originally from South America, so if there's a potato in your movie set in medieval Europe that's not historically accurate, Of all things. The history of potatoes is very fascinating and funny. Cries in Irish. When people with jobs like cops and teachers have super nice houses or apartments. True. Can't tell you how many times I've noticed such unrealistic homes of characters in shows and movies. Damn, do I love me some good set design though. *SITCOMS have entered the chat. We are a group of quirky friends. One is a student, one is an intern. The rest are in odd jobs crafted around comedic effect. We can afford to rent this downtown Manhattan apartment which should realistically cost $5,000 per month. Drags face across the keyboard for a minute as 300 CMD windows pop up all over the screen. I'm actually think of a realistic scene of an hacker. Protagonist, can you hack into the building's security system? Hacker, just leave it to me. 5 hours later. Everyone is sleeping. The very tired hacker typing slowly while drinking the 40th cup of coffee. Guys, I'm in. Bottomless magazines and pistols and rifles. Also people racking the slide of a pistol or working the action of their pump shotgun when they were already using it in an I can't shoot you with a twitch of my finger sort of way. You're holding the villain at gunpoint without actually being able to immediately shoot him, cocking the hammer of a non-double action only revolver, no problem. The other two things, though. Bonus points for doing this and visibly ejecting an unfired cartridge. See, for instance, early in Demolition Man. Girls looking perfect. They wake up with makeup on and their hair styled. Even if they're in the hospital, they spend weeks or months in captivity, but don't grow leg or armpit hair. They go through a jungle with a group of guys and the men will look like shit, while the girl will get a smudge of dirt on one cheekbone. Takes me right out of the experience, every time. 12 years after the apocalypse. Society has collapsed. People are fighting for scraps. The rule of law is forgotten. Electricity and running water are things of the past. The men all have shaggy, but still slightly groomed, beards and long unkempt hair. Meanwhile, the women have taken time between fleeing zombies / enemy hordes / etc to shave their legs and armpits, style their hair, and put on makeup. Perfect hair after being mauled by a bear, thrown off a cliff, and hit by a car, and then thrown into a dumpster. The kids always seem to leave for school in the middle of the day. Either they have some sweet school hours or the sun needs to tone it down that early in the morning. I'm not from the West lol. I thought that was the norm. If you are far up north in the US you can have times you go to school before the sun rises, and by the time you get home there is like 1 hour of sunlight left. As a Canadian, I feel this. No one says goodbye on the phone. Ever. They just finish a sentence and hang up the phone. I hate it. No one does that, and I have never heard anyone say goodbye in a show or movie. See also, can I take you to dinner? Sure. Great. I'll see you at 8. *HANGUP where will you see her? You don't know where she lives, and you didn't agree on a place. The reactor is critical. Then it explodes. Critical means that you have achieved a sustained fission reaction, not an out of control one. Going critical is actually what you want to happen in a reactor. The reactor is going critical. Oh good, let's keep an eye on that. CPR or worse. Shocking assistole. 10 seconds CPR. Shock assistole. Person is background GCS 15 ready to continue with life. When they do product placements and put the product facing the audience the whole time. Fun fact, sometimes the products are just painted blue or green, so they can change advertisers between theater, home, and TV release. How I Met Your Mother did this. They changed things in reruns, so they now advertise movies. But it would be movies that weren't out in the year the story was set. Hospital shows where they shock a flatline. It's a non-shockable rhythm, and the patients miraculously pick up a rhythm after 1-2 shocks and the patient is awake and talking. Wait, you only shock people if they are still ticking, but not as well as you want them to. Have I been lied to my whole life? Yes, it's not meant to start a heart, but to correct a messed up rhythm. Sword fighting in movies, which is just very large swings, turning around, half swording and hitting each other's sword to make a nice clang. Also this. Sword pulled from leather scabbard, sound of metal scraping on metal. Sword pulled from belt, sound of metal scraping on metal. Sword drawn along stone column, Sound of metal scraping on metal. Sword lands on grass. Sound of metal banking on metal. Every aspect of childbirth. Enhance image. People in apocalyptic situations who still get intimate. Like, if it's the apocalypse no one has showered in days, and I guarantee you, there's a lot of smells happening. Also, honorable mention to apocalypse movies who show women perfectly made up with no hair anywhere and perfect eyebrows. I agree with your second point about women looking like models despite a horde of zombies drooling over them, but not with the first. I think people would still fuck like rabbits. Smells and body hair be damned. Especially if we take into account the weird dynamics that must take place in such a situation. If you save someone's life on the daily and they depend on you so much, they'll want to fuck you if they like you. That's how we work as a species, I think. I once protected an ex from a dog when we were taking a walk, and I got world-class sex for the whole following week. The way actors do African accents. None of us sound like primitive village chiefs who live on the outskirts of Wakanda. When two dudes fuck spontaneously without having to worry about the shit factor. They never seem to use lube either. Hiding behind a car like bullets don't go through doors and shit. I saw a video on the History channel on Honor and you can straight up shoot through both doors of a car with an AK-47. When someone's drowning, they're somehow able to scream for help while flailing around. When soldiers hand a civilian a damn AK-47 or some shit and they are instantly trained in combat and proper gun use. Edit, don't actually have much familiarity with guns much at all. I wrote AK-47 because, as with lots of people, it's the first gun that comes to mind. Turns out AK-47 isn't too insanely hard to shoot, but you get my message. Glad I learned something today. Guns shooting perfectly fine underwater. I think John Wick 3 was the only film I watched to show realistic underwater shooting. Movie romance, stalking, obsessive behavior, lack of respect for personal boundaries, straight up felonies. But it's fine, because he's attractive or adorably goofy. If the plot of Liar Liar hadn't happened in 1997, it would have ended with Jim Carrey swallowing extra mayo in Guantanamo Bay. A single 100-pound woman making minced meat of waves of 250-pound gorilla-like men while wearing high heels. Anything medical, 9 times out of 10 stethoscopes are put on backwards.